Here's the thing about Bundy, okay? Yes, he was not caught for a while and he got away with all these murders, but the guy was not a genius. He just knew how to exploit these massive fucking gaps in the law during the 70s. He studied law. He had a good understanding of police, and he knew that police departments from different states didn't communicate. They didn't work together, so he would basically just kill people in different states and get a fresh start every time. And yes, escaped prison twice, nothing to sneeze at. For multiple weeks, going up to the top bunk of his prison bed and jumping off to train his feet so that he could jump through the courtroom window. Takes some thought, takes some planning. And the second escape, starving himself and slithering through the frickin' prison vent. You gotta tip the cap there, but aside from that, the guy would have been caught in 2 seconds today. There was nothing calm and calculating about Bundy, like he just killed recklessly. Abducting people in broad daylight, sometimes he would even kill like more than one person, like multiple people in the same day, which is unheard of. Just like insanely impulsive. Like he'd just see somebody, usually that looked like his ex-girlfriend, told multiple witnesses that his name was Ted, couldn't drive worth a shit, driving too slow, driving without lights in the middle of the night, no one's gonna see me, being his own fucking lawyer. So no, the cunning genius that people like to refer to Bundy as, the most you could really say, and I think he at least earns this, he was a clever dumbass.
This guy has Charles Manson's cremated remains tattooed in him. Charles Manson was cremated in 2017, and for months, fans and family argued over who should actually claim the ashes. In the end, Jason Freeman, one of Manson's grandsons, received the ashes, and he said he would spread them. Tattoo artist and self-proclaimed professional weirdo Ryan Gillikin acquired some of these ashes. While the ashes were being spread, a friend of Manson's grandson grabbed some, and they eventually made it to the hands of Ryan. Using the ashes, he made a few morbid and controversial pieces of art, including a face tattoo. Patrick Booz of New York had Helter Skelter tattooed above his right eye, as well as the infamous X on his forehead. The ink used was infused with Charles Manson's ashes. What do you think about this?
So the Cecil Hotel has become known as the deadliest and most infamous of all time. I'm honestly sitting here and I'm like, I don't even know where to start on this hotel. But if you don't already know what this hotel is, it's been the inspiration for several documentaries, a Stephen King novella, and an entire series of American Horror Story, and honestly so much more. This place ended up gaining the reputation as being the place where serial killers could let down their hair, but that's not at all what it was originally intended to be. The Cecil Hotel opened its doors between 1920 to 1927. It had a beautiful marble lobby, 15 floors, and about 700 different rooms. And this was supposed to be the place for traveling businessmen and Hollywood tourists. But within 5 years of it opening, America sank into the Great Depression. And almost overnight, the Cecil Hotel ended up becoming a boarding house for the poor, the desperate, criminals, and people who were trying to hide or run away from something. And the first death occurred in 1927, but this was about to be far from the last. The hotel soon became plagued with people completing unalivings and also many accidental deaths. But murder is just an entirely other animal. And by the 1980s, Richard Ramirez, otherwise known as the Night Stalker, would show up to the hotel. Go to the next part. So this is the dark history behind the Cecil Hotel. So in the 1980s, Richard Ramirez ended up getting a room at the Cecil. His name ended up being the Night Stalker because he would always stalk his victims. And he would come back at the end of the day after looking for victims along Skid Row, and he would just walk back into the hotel, change in the back alleyway, and people at the hotel would see him with blood all over his clothes, and they just accepted. Like, you would think that someone would notify the authorities or, like, at the bare minimum, kick him out. But not at the Cecil. And if he wasn't already scary enough, he was a literal Satan worshiper. Not to be confused with Satanists. And soon after this, a fan of his by the name of Jack Uderweger came all the way from Australia, where he was already convicted from killing someone else and then was released, came to the Cecil Hotel to start to emulate Richard Ramirez's crimes. While to the public, he was considered a minor celebrity for being a journalist. And this really is what started to change the hotel as being referred to as Hotel Death. But then the hotel gathered an entirely new reputation in 2013. The death of 21-year-old Elisa Lam has been the inspiration behind so many podcasts, documentaries, videos, and she wanted to stay at a place that was marketed for like hip young people, which was the Stay on Main. But unbeknownst to her and a lot of other people who went to go stay at the Stay on Main, the Stay on Main was just the Cecil Hotel rebranded. A very eerie video of her came out on an elevator soon after she went missing, which is what brought so much attention to this case. And soon after, she was found dead in the water tower of the hotel after people in the hotel had been drinking that water for days. But there's still so many sinister details surrounding this hotel, and it also mind boggles me, how could all of this just happen in one spot? Is there something more evil or malevolent going on? I had the opportunity to go to the Cecil Hotel to see if there were some answers. It is by far the most terrifying video I've ever made, and I was a little scared to upload it, but it's on my YouTube.
Let's talk about what happened to 15-year-old Ciara Lamar. Ciara was born on October 19, 1996 and was from Fremont, California. She's described as having a goofy sense of humor, playful personality, and just always wanted to make people laugh. She was a cheerleader in high school and had a very big social life. After her parents' divorce, she moved from Fremont to Morgan Hill, California. Ciara was upset about this. She really loved her life in Fremont, she loved her friends, but her mom wanted a fresh start. On March 16, 2012, Ciara got up at around 6 o'clock in the morning and started getting ready for school. She would normally leave her house at around 7:15 and would walk a few blocks to the bus stop to make it there before 7:30. There was a lot of empty land around her house, which made her bus stop unofficial. It was an unmarked spot that only Ciara would be picked up at. So at around 7 a.m., Ciara posted this quick selfie on her social media, said goodbye to her mother Marlene, and headed to the bus stop. Throughout the day, Ciara's mother sent her a couple of text messages reminding her to clean the bathtub and to take the school bus home. However, Marlene never got a response back, but she just assumed that Ciara was busy at school. Later that afternoon, Marlene got off work at around 3:45 p.m. and called Ciara just to check in once again. Ciara was still not responding to any of her text messages or her phone calls. Marlene started to get worried, so she headed home to see if Ciara had made it home from school. However, when she got home, Ciara was not there. She ended up going to Ciara's high school to search for her there, and that's when the teachers told her that Ciara never made it to class. It's crazy that the school didn't notify Marlene earlier that her daughter had never made it to school. Marlene says that if they had notified her, she would have left work early to search for her daughter. After this, Marlene called 911 and reported her daughter as missing. Police checked the footage from the school bus that morning just to see if Ciara did get on the bus, but she never did. That means somewhere between 7:15 when Ciara left her home and 7:30 when the bus arrived, something happened to Ciara. Now police are thinking that maybe someone has been watching Ciara and they know that she's the only person that ever goes to this bus stop. They start looking at the footage from previous days on the bus to see if anything stands out, but nothing does. The following day, on March 17th, search and rescue units find Ciara's cell phone just a few blocks east of where the bus stop is. Police check her cell phone to see if they can find any clues, but they found nothing. The next day, search and rescue begins searching around a shed just a few miles away from Ciara's home. While searching around the shed, they find Ciara's black Juicy Couture bag tucked between the shed and a cactus. Inside the bag, they find a couple of items. They found Ciara's jeans, her shoes, and the sweatshirt she was wearing in the selfie she posted earlier that day. They did find some dirt and debris on her clothing, which indicated to police that she might have been dragged. Police take in all the items found in the bag and begin testing it for DNA. They find DNA that belonged to then 21-year-old Antolin Garcia Torres. This DNA was already in the system due to a prior arrest for a 2009 felony assault charge. Now, Antolin only lived about 7 miles away from Ciara. He lived in this trailer that he shared with his mother, his wife, and their young daughter. Okay, part 2 is up now. This is part 2 on what happened to 15-year-old Ciara Lamar. Now that police have Antolin's DNA on Ciara's belongings, they begin to have a 24-hour surveillance on him just to see if he was holding Ciara captive and could lead them to her. Along with this, police were able to obtain security video that captured Antolin leaving the trailer park where he lived 15 minutes before Ciara would have left to the bus stop. And the next 6 hours after he leaves are completely unaccounted for. Police bring in Antolin for questioning and they ask him about those 6 hours, and he says he went on a solo fishing trip. Now there's no witnesses or anything to verify this fishing trip. Then police ask him how his DNA landed on Ciara's belongings, and this is how he explains it. He says that he sometimes pleasures himself in the car and then grabs a tissue to help clean him up. Then he says he sometimes throws the tissue out the window, so maybe this tissue landed on Ciara's belongings and that's how his DNA was on them. I mean, really, your tissue with your DNA just happened to land on the belongings of a missing 15-year-old girl? Like what? Obviously, police aren't buying this, but they continue to ask him what he did for the rest of the day. Antolin says that after he went fishing, he went to the bank to cash in a check, and there is footage of him at this bank to confirm. Police look at the footage and they notice that the bottom of his jeans looks a little bit different. They believe that his jeans are either wet or they were covered in dirt. Witnesses say that the morning Sierra disappeared, they saw a red VW Jetta driving around near Sierra's home, which is the exact same car that Antolin drives. Police search his car and they find some of Sierra's hair wrapped around a rope in his trunk. They also found Sierra's DNA on the rear door handle and on the armrest. With this, police were able to confirm that at one point Sierra was in fact in Antolin's car, despite him claiming that he does not know her. So then, on May 21st, 2012, 2 months after Sierra was last seen, police finally arrested Antolin. He was charged with the kidnapping and murder of 15-year-old Sierra Lamar. He pleaded not guilty and his trial did not begin until January of 2017. The prosecution revealed that in 2009, Antolin attempted to kidnap 3 separate females in the parking lots of 2 Safeway stores in Morgan Hill. They believe that these attempted kidnappings were sort of a practice run for the abduction of Sierra. So then, on May 9, 2017, the jury found Antolin guilty. Since they have still not found Sierra's body, they gave him life in prison without the possibility of parole. At the trial, Antolin's own mother testified, saying that her son was innocent and was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Sierra's family also spoke at the trial, and they say that they're happy with what the jurors did and that it does give them peace as a family to know that he won't be able to do this to another child. This guy is literally a father and has a daughter of his own and did this to someone else's daughter. To this day, Sierra's body has never been found. If you know anything about the whereabouts of Sierra, please contact the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office or their anonymous tip line. It's not right that after so many years, Sierra's family still does not know where she is and cannot lay her to rest properly. I truly hope that Sierra is found soon and gets the justice that she deserves.
All kids are given a color assignment that corresponds to their disorder. Greens, basic enhanced intelligence. Blues have telekinetic abilities. Golds can manipulate electricity, are the most dangerous. Reds and oranges, but they are very rare. I'm sure you have nothing to worry about. It'll be okay. Get back here!
I'm a green.
Yes.
This is the story of a woman that killed her boyfriend with her own breasts. Unfortunately, there's no pictures of this woman online at all, so you're just gonna have to imagine this one. I'm sure you can imagine what she looked like though. She was 51 years old, her name was Donna Lang, and one night she was in her mobile home with her boyfriend when they started arguing, and this argument very quickly turned into a physical fight. Now Donna knew that she weighed more than her boyfriend, and so at one point during this fight, she just threw herself on top of him on the sofa to smother him. Neighbours said that they could hear screams coming from the mobile home, him pleading for her to get off of him, but she didn't. And Donna Lang smothered her boyfriend to death with her breasts. When police arrived, they found her boyfriend dead, and he was actually still clutching a handful of her hair from this struggle. I think she somehow managed to get away with manslaughter for this instead of murder, which means they think she didn't intend to kill him. But from the sound of the witness reports of him screaming and begging for her to get off of him, I don't know, to me it sounds like she knew what she was doing.